All right, well, let's get started. So hi, everyone. Welcome to today's session. I'm Jason Gumper from MS Dynamics World, and I am pleased to be able to host our latest Portals community call. Today we have a special guest along with our regular event presenter, Nick Hayduke. We also have special guest Andrea Pinillos to present a Power Apps portal app in under an hour. Sounds like an interesting challenge. I'm looking forward to it. As usual, we do welcome your questions during the event. Just look for the questions block and enter them at any time. Nick and Andrea will make time for those. We're also recording today's event, and we'll be sharing that out with all of you who registered after the event concludes. So I think with that, we are ready to get started. Nick, I'm going to hand things off to you to begin.
Sounds good. All right. Well, thank you everyone for attending today. We've almost got a whole year of these under our belt. We started back in January, and not that I'm going to take credit for the pandemic or anything, but it seems like that close timing. So it's the world has changed a lot since we started, but hopefully you're all staying safe, and hopefully we'll be out of this kind of crazy world here sooner than we think, but maybe we won't. Yeah, so today we've got a special guest. We've got Andrea Pinillos, and that's going to be presenting building a Power App Portals app in under an hour. Quick little introduction here. There we go. Quickly, myself, my name is Nicholas Hayduke. I'm the president and software engineer with Engineered Code Consulting, Inc., based here in Regina, Saskatchewan, Canada. Microsoft MVP and a 10 years plus experience with Power Apps Portals since my career began at ADX Studio, which is the company that built the portals and was acquired by Microsoft 5 years ago. If you're interested in kind of hooking up with me on the different social medias, so that's LinkedIn, we got Twitter, got my blog, I've got a YouTube channel that I push out a video almost every week, as well as there's a podcast that I am one of the co-hosts. We've got the market certainly cornered on Power Apps Portals related podcasts. That podcast is called Refresh the Cache, and I do that with fellow MVPs Nick Dolman and Colin Vermander. So feel free to reach out to me on any of those channels. And yeah, let's get kind of into it. In terms of thank yous, the biggest one probably goes out to Jason and his team at MS Dynamics World. Thanks for hosting us. Thanks for getting the word out. Thanks for coordinating everything. Huge help, and look forward to many more of these. So thanks again to Jason and his team. In terms of agenda, we do have some news that we're going to cover. We'll then have today's topic, which is, again, building a Power Apps portal app in under an hour. The amount of time she gets is, I guess, depending on how quickly I get through this news. We'll talk about the date and time of next Portals community call, and we will, there may be time for Q&A. Otherwise, if you do have any questions, as Jason mentioned, drop them in the questions area, and we'll do our best to get those all answered. Okay, what do we got in terms of news? So the Fall into Power Apps Portals event, which if you weren't aware of, there was, I think it was last week actually, last Thursday, there was a day-long conference. There was a total of, I think, 9 or 10 different sessions throughout the day in different time zones. That ran last week. And if you happen to miss it, that's okay, because all of the recordings are now available at 365.training. They're all freely available there, so lots of great sessions. I did one on authentication. I see we've got some attendees. I think I saw Ulriki's name in here. She did a great session showing off a really nice portal that she did. So yeah, lots of great content there. If this hour isn't enough for you, there's yeah, like I said, 9 or 10 hours worth of content up on 365.training. So go ahead and check that out. What was also exciting was that at the keynote, so the keynote for that conference was delivered by Mr. Dileep Singh, who is the project manager or program manager at Microsoft for Portals. So basically, he's the guy in charge of Portals. So he was gracious enough to wake up at, I think it was like 5 o'clock in the morning his time, to deliver the keynote. And then he did it again a little bit later on the day for the other time zones. And he kind of surprised us with some announcements that we weren't expecting. A lot of these were things that we, no one really knew was coming. So it was great to see that he was able to share some of that with us. So I thought I would just, again, in case you missed it, share some of those announcements or some of the kind of the little tidbits that he dropped during his keynote. So that includes that they are working on, we've already seen the improved identity management interface in the Maker portal. That is, he kind of mentioned that they're looking to continue to invest in that in a couple of ways. One is adding support for some of the other identity provider protocols. So whether that's OpenID Connect or SAML or WS Federation, they're looking to improve how to do those, because those are still, if you want to configure those providers, completely supported, but you have to do it using site settings. What he says is that they're looking to bring that into that Maker experience where you don't have to worry so much about the site settings, and you're kind of going through more of a wizard style interface to get that set up. So that's great, as well as an improved Azure AD B2C configuration experience. So right now it's a lot easier than site settings, but you still have to go over into Azure and set up a AD B2C tenant and get the configuration, all that sort of stuff. What they're hoping to do is get to the point where you never even have to go into Azure. That process will spin up the Azure AD B2C configuration for you. So that's one of their kind of longer term goals as well. He did say that support for actions in the web API is coming. So we've got the CRUD API, which was announced a few months ago. That's currently in preview and should be generally available in the new year. I think it's February. Right now, that's just for create, update, and delete of entities. And what the intention is to add the ability to execute an action, which will open up a whole lot of other options, basically getting you into both the classic workflow engine that exists in CDS. And then once you're in there, there's lots of things you can do, plugins and custom workflow activities and all that sort of stuff. So that would be a huge window to open up. So was really excited to see that support for actions is coming. No time frames on any of these things, but it's just good to see what they're looking and what they're working on. Another one would be the portal capacity consumption reports. So essentially, this ties back to the licensing. The question I get almost every day is, questions about licensing. How do I know how many licenses I'm consuming? What happens when I run out of licenses? All those sorts of things. So right now, because they're not really giving any of the data, and really the only way to get that sort of data is to kind of inquire and submit a ticket to Microsoft, and they can grab it. They are looking at adding those reports directly into I believe it will be the Power Platform Admin Center. That should be coming here pretty quickly, and it'll be great so that you can get an idea of how much you're consuming to make sure you're purchasing the appropriate amount of licenses. And lastly, here on the list is solution upgrades in the Power Platform Admin Center. Right now, doing the upgrade of your portals related solutions is still kind of an old legacy experience to get that done. And they are looking at moving that into the Power Platform Admin Center, and just kind of that will be the one-stop shop for kind of everything in there. You can already see the kind of list of portals in there, so they've already added some features to the Power Platform Admin Center, and they're just continuing to invest in doing that. So that's kind of what we got in terms of news this week. I'm not seeing any questions, so without further ado, we're going to look at handing it over to Andrea and seeing how we can build a Power Apps portal app in under an hour. Jason, do you want to do the honors of switching the presenter there? Or I think maybe I can do it here.
It is on the way.
Perfect.
Hey everyone, can everybody hear me and see my screen okay?
We can do that.
Yep.
Just give me 1 second. It's going to be the other way around. No, still normal. Do you see my presentation slides or the next slide edited version?
Yeah, we're seeing the presentation window, not the slides.
Just go to the display settings at the top and swap it.
Ah, good call. That's better.
Yep.
All right. So yes, thank you everybody for joining us today. I'm excited to show you how easy it is to build your very own Portals app in under an hour. It's actually going to take us a little bit less than that. I do have a PowerPoint presentation to show you guys, just to kind of go over logistics and beginning to end formation of this Power Apps portal. So a little bit about me. My name is Andrea Pinillos. I have a bachelor's in business management from George Mason University and a certificate in web development from George Washington University. I have lots of experience with Power Apps, Power Automate, CDS, Power BI, and I dabbled with Power Virtual Agents. I also do a lot of web development in at my job right now. I've worked with React, Angular, Node.js, SharePoint, as well as Azure services. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. I have the QR code up here. You can use your phone's camera to connect with me pretty quickly through that, or shoot me a tweet on my Twitter. So the agenda for today, we're going to start with going over some basic things that have to do with the Common Data Service. I do want to touch on this because it is important to know how CDS and creating solutions works to be able to implement those things inside your portal so that all of your data works seamlessly. You not only have to create a portal, but you can connect your portal to a model-driven app, a Canvas app. So I will start by creating a solution inside CDS and creating an entity, forms, and views inside of there so that I can then demonstrate how to bring those into your portal. I will go over the out-of-the-box components that portal has to offer, some admin editing through the UI. I will go over caching. This is important in portals because sometimes the IDs from CDS don't necessarily move over to the portal, so I'll teach you how to clear that cache directly through the browser. As well as show you how to do it within the admin settings portion of the portal. I'll also go over authentication, liquid programming. This liquid programming is important. If you're not able to grab server-side code out of the box, you can use liquid programming to grab that code, and I'll give you a snippet of what that might look like as well as a reference to the documents, or you can just Google it and find it easily in Microsoft Docs. And lastly, I'll be going into the demo, so I'll teach you how to create your very own portal and then start creating that solution and then bring that solution into the portal and test it out and work with the portal and show you all the neat things that Power Apps Portals has to offer. This is a great slide. It's a very broad overview of the Power Platform. I'm sure a lot of you have seen this slide many times before, but I like to give a visual representation of the Power Platform and show you how everything is connected through CDS. As I mentioned before, if you do create everything in CDS, you can easily work with any of these applications and bring in those same forms, those same views, those same charts, all because you've created everything inside CDS. I'm a big proponent of Common Data Service, so I always like to let you guys know that it'll make your life a lot easier if you do end up using Common Data Service to build in the Power Platform. And now I think we have over 300 data connectors that we can use inside the platform, which is very exciting. This makes our lives easier so we don't have to code anything. This is all out of the box, low code, but not low complexity. That's what I like to tell people. So the Common Data Service. just a quick overview of the Common Data Service. The Common Data Service is built into the Power Platform. This is where all of your entities will live. So I like to create a solution for all of my projects instead of just going into the data and creating entities that way. I'll show you what that looks like a little bit later. So I like to create my own solution, and within that solution, I'll build all of my applications for that project. So within that solution, I'll build my Canvas app, my portal, my model-driven app. I'll build my entities and all of my fields, as well as my forms and my views, just so everything lives inside of one solution, so that everything is organized. This is also important for you when you do want to export your project and maybe even bring it into Azure DevOps and create that build pipeline so that your developers can work on it. So not only can you build entities, you can also create calculated and roll-up fields. These calculated fields, for example, you have a couple of expenses added to your fields, and you want to see what the total expense is for all of them. You can do this all out of the box, no code needed. You can create all of this with inside CDS. And a few other things like business rules, and of course the Pro Developer SDK. So one huge thing about portals is that it is responsive. You can use it inside of your website. You can use it on a tablet or a phone. There's no extra configuration needed. There's no extra code that is needed. You can just open the URL that is created by default and view this on your phone, view this on your tablet. Nothing special is needed there. So that's a huge thing about portals and Power Apps in general. So a little bit about the designer interface for portals. As you can see here on the image on the right-hand side, it is kind of similar to a Canvas app interface. On the left-hand side, you have your tree view. So this is where you can add your components, you can add new pages, you can modify the CSS file, change the theme, add templates. On the right-hand side, you can do more intricate things like editing the page URL, editing the name, the layout. Maybe if we add a text field, we can even change the color. All can be done within this user interface. There are actually a few ways to edit the portal. It's kind of limiting here inside of this user interface. I will show you how you can actually add maybe an HTML file or a CSS file within portal management. I won't go too far into it, but it is known to be a best practice to do that within portal management instead of inside the user interface. But everything can be done inside the user interface, and that's what I'm mainly going to be focusing on today. But I did want to let you know that you can add your own HTML, CSS, JavaScript into the portal management app that is created alongside of the portal site. So liquid programming language, this is how you get your data from CDS into your portal. You can write scripts to take that data from databases and create HTML, and they're categorized into objects, tags, and filters. And at the bottom here is kind of what it looks like when you do use that liquid programming language. As you can see here, we have a conditional for account and even an else if statement here for contact. So it's kind of like code. You can customize it to your needs and make sure that everything that you need is inside of your portal. So caching. Caching, I've come to find, is a huge thing in portals. Sometimes the form that you create in CDS doesn't come out exactly how you might want it inside of your portal. So in order to make sure that all of your cache is clear, not only in your browser, but inside your portal, you can navigate to your portal URL and then do a /_services/about, and you'll come to this page right here that you might see on your right hand side, and you can click on this clear cache button right on the browser, and this might make your browser a little bit slower, but in the long run it will help you when you're adding your forms and your lists to make sure that everything is brought in from CDS and you're able to use those forms. You can also do this inside the admin settings, like I mentioned before. You can restart your portal, and that will clear the cache as well. In order to be able to see this, you do have to have an admin role. In the next slide, I'll show you how to change admin roles, but you'll be able to go to your admin role through the portal management application. This is a model-driven app that is created simultaneously when your portal is created. So you'll navigate to your portal management app, you'll navigate to contacts, and you'll change the view to all contacts. You'll open the contact for the person that you want to change the web roles for, and you'll select the related field. Once you select the related field, you'll select web roles, and you'll see the screen down below where you can add existing web role. And administrators and authenticated users are already integrated inside the portal management app. All you have to do is search for it when the pop-up screen comes up and make sure that the contact that wants that admin role is assigned for it. This is good for caching purposes, as well as extra editing capabilities that I can go into a little bit later as well. So Portals allows for external users to be able to use your application. That's the beauty of Portals. So within that, we have the ability to expand our audiences. We can authenticate using local registration. So this is a very basic, a person comes into your portal, clicks the sign in or register like you see here, and they select an email, username, and password, and that's how they can create a new persona for your portal. If you want a little bit more security, you can also invite someone through a code. You can generate a code that is sent to their email, and only the people that have that specific URL code can actually access your portal. So if you don't want someone that you don't know registering for your portal, I do recommend doing it through this invitation process. You also have Azure AD off. So this is authenticated users within your organization's Active Directory, and it will create an account for them. So no username and password is needed. It's basically whatever you are logged in as in your current browser is what you will log into the portal with. And of course, B2C authentication. These are third-party providers. So I did see that they're improving these third-party providers so that you don't have to go into Azure to be able to provision this, but for now you do. If you want to provision Twitter, Facebook, Google, you have to go into your Azure tenant and make sure that that's the provider that you want to use. There's plenty of documentation to do this. It's not that difficult. I can provide that documentation for anybody that needs it. All right, so let's go into the demo. All right, so now we are at make.powerapps.com. This might be familiar to those who have created apps within the Power Platform. I've basically gone in to a trial environment tenant and created a environment within that. It's very easy to create an environment if you do have admin access. You just go to this toolbar, click on this admin center, and then once you get inside there, you'll see environments and you'll just click create new. So I've created this environment. This is what the user interface looks like. In order to create a portal, all you have to do is go to Home, Apps, click on this portal from blank. And I've actually already created a portal for this demonstration only because it does take up to an hour for the portal to get provisioned. It actually creates a number of solutions related to the portal and configures all of them automatically. So once you do create a new portal and you go into solutions, you'll be able to see all of these different solutions that are created in the back end that you can use for your portal. So that is why I've created a portal already, but you can give your portal a name here, create whatever address you want to give it. It'll tell you if the URL has already been used. If it's not, you'll get a check mark. And all of them will have the same powerappsportals.com domain name. And I can show you how to change this to better fit your organization, or if you just want to leave it like that, you can actually go into it and use this URL wherever you'd like. Simple as that. All you have to click is create after you're done. So we'll actually go ahead and go into solutions. So as I mentioned before, we are going to create a new solution. I want to take you guys through the process of what you should do from start to finish and to make sure that you're following the right steps to create a seamless portal for you or your organization. So today we're going to create a solution for the human resource department. We're going to create a very basic new employee form inside the portal so that new employees can go into the portal, log in using, Azure AD authentication. They can fill in all of their information in the form inside the portal, and then we'll go ahead and create a list. So the human resource department admin supervisors can go in and see the list of new hires and all of their forms right in the portal. We won't actually be going into permissions today, but we can add permissions. So for example, we probably don't want everybody in the organization to be able to see the list of everybody's information. So you can create permissions for that so that only certain people can see that list. But we'll just make it open to the public today so that I can just show you how to add a list, how to add a form. So we'll go ahead and create a new solution and we'll name it Human Resource Management. And I'm going to name it something very broad because human resource management can mean anything from recruitment to new hire to documents. So this portal will be for anyone inside human resources. And you can create a publisher. I've already created a publisher. I do recommend creating a new publisher or using a publisher that you've already created instead of this CDS default publisher, because you'll be able to decide what you want for your prefix so that all of your fields inside of CDS will have the same prefix, so you know that you're in the right solution. All right. Here it is. So we'll go inside here and we'll create a new entity. Like I mentioned before, this is where you can create all of your apps, your dashboards, your entities, your flows, all within the same solution so that everything is organized. So this entity, as you can see here, is provisioning in the background. We'll be able to see a lot more of these in a few seconds, but we can create our entity while that is provisioning, and we'll name it new employee information. And this primary field, we're actually going to name it first name. And as you can see here, here is my prefix, APS, the same as my publisher. So we've created our new entity. And here are all of the out-of-the-box fields that are created in the background. You can use these in any of your forms, however you like. They will come up as standard, and all of the fields that you've created will come up as custom. So let me just go ahead and create the rest of these fields real quick. Change this to birthday, date only. And these next fields I am creating, I do recommend if you go back and create your own, I do recommend you create a lookup field for all of these, just so all of these are consistent and your employee isn't just going in and creating cities, states, just however they please, so that you want to create a lookup field so that everything is the same. Punctuation is the same. It's all spelled correctly. All right, so we've created the fields necessary for our new employee information form. We'll go ahead and save the entity. Now we're going to go and create our form. And this is the same form that we're going to be using inside of the portal. So we'll go into this main form type to modify this form here. Those forms were default forms out of the box. As you can see here, we already have 2 fields populated. And in order to add these fields, same as some of the other Power Platform applications, you can either click or drag and drop. And then I do not necessarily want this, so I can go ahead and hide it. Last name, email, just rearranging these, that makes sense. Street address up here, postal code. And then I do want to add another. There you go. Move these down here. All right. And I'll publish this. I'm actually going to change the name of this so it's different than the rest. Okay, next step is creating our view. Why do we want to create our view? This view is going to be the list inside of our portal. So this is what we'll see when multiple people submit new employee forms. So we'll just want to add things that are the most important from our form. So maybe first name, last name, and then contact information. Also can drag and drop these as well. Just like that, very simple, publish. All right. So we are ready to go inside of our portal. We'll go back to apps. So this is the portal that's created. I've created a community demo here, and this is the model-driven app that's created at the same time, the portal management app. I'll go ahead and open both. A little bit about the portal management app before we do get into the portal. Here is where you can configure a ton of different things from your portal. You can see the websites, page templates, site settings, entity lists, web files. This is where you can go in and download the maybe CSS or HTML. The way to do this is you go into notes, you go into that specific web file, you download this, and then re-upload the next one. And let us go into the portal. So I've come in here and the only thing I've edited is this human resources text. Everything else that you can see here is available to you by default. You can edit anything on this page, on this home page that you see here, however you'd like. And I'll show you a little bit later how to better edit things. But for now, we actually want to go ahead and add our form. So we'll go up here to new page, fix layouts, and we want a page with title. So a new page is creating for me. And this is that new page with title template. So if we want to name it something more related to what we're doing, we'll name this new employee information. And you can even change the partial URL right on this site. So we'll say new employee, and you do need a dash. If you forget your dash, it will yell at you and say that you need a dash. So exactly what the name is, we'll leave it like that. And we'll click in here. This is those tree views that I mentioned before. Here are all of your pages. You can delete, add child page, move down, all within this interface right here. These are your components, so if you want to add layout sections, you can add it right out of here. And these are your out-of-the-box components. So you have text field, image, iframe, form, list, breadcrumb, and even you can embed Power BI right on your portal. But right now, we're going to go ahead and create a form. I want to create a section first so that it doesn't take up the entire width of the page. And then what I did was I clicked inside column within that section. And now I want to add my form. And I actually want to delete this text. I don't want it. So I just click it and delete. And then we want to click inside of the form so that we can configure that form to that entity that we created inside CDS. So since this is our very first form, we'll select new, and then we'll go in and look for our entity. We look for that entity because within that entity, we created that form. There it is. And you can see here is my prefix for my publisher. And the form is that new employee information form that we edited back in CDS. And we'll give this a name. There are 3 different modes that you can select from: insert, edit, and read only. We'll go ahead and select insert because we want the user to be able to input data. You can also change the form success settings right in this interface. So if you want the user to be redirected to a web page, redirected to a whole different URL, or just show a success message, this can be configured right here. And you can change the success message right here as well. Or you can even hide. These advanced settings let you check or uncheck if you want to show the captcha for anonymous users and authenticated users, as well as enable entity permissions. I'm going to go ahead and uncheck both of these because we don't need that for this purpose. So we'll click on sync configuration to make sure everything from CDS is configured right in our portal. I'm going to go back to our page just to make sure everything is good to go. All of it is good. And let's see what we can see in the browser. So as you can see here is the domain name, my URL, and that partial URL that we added for this page. And voila, here is our form. This is the exact same form we created inside of CDS in our entity, and then we went ahead and edited that main form. So we can say John Doe is our very first employee. And birth date, you can either select it from this very awesome integrated date, since we did click on date only when we were creating this field, or you can type directly in here. Just typing in dummy data here. I think that's going to be. Click submit. And we see that submission completed success message that we saw when we were editing the form. So our new employee has been submitted to CDS, but now how do we see this new employee? We can't see it in here because this is only in forms. So we want to go ahead and create a new page, a child page. So in order to do that, I went to Pages, this new employee information, add child page, and a child page will be created. Same format with title. So this new page, this child page, we'll name it new employee. And same idea here with a partial URL. And we'll go and do the same thing. We'll call them section. We'll click inside of the column, and we'll click list instead. And we can configure this list with the same exact entity that we used for the form because everything already lives inside the same solution, inside the same entity. So it's very easy to find and best practices when you're creating your project. We'll get down to N. Whoa. There we go. And remember, we modified the active new employee information view, and we added the most important fields that we had added. So all you have to do is click on Views, Active New Employee Information, give it a name. So New Employee List. And all of these options here, so just like you would create it in code with CRUD, we can select, yes, we want to create a new record all within the same list. So we select form, but you can also select web page and URL, and we select that same exact form that we chose up here, or we chose on the other page. Same with view details. You can see my test right there. And we can even delete records right within the same list view. Check what's inside settings. You can select how many records per page, and then after 10 records, there will be a arrow that you can use to create and go to the next page. So we have our list created and configured, and we'll go ahead and sync configuration just to be sure everything is good to go. We'll go back to page. And as you can see here, here's our view. So remember, we added first name, last name, email, phone number to that same view inside CDS. We see that exact same view here. That's why it's important to create everything inside of CDS and then create that entity and then that view so that everything works seamlessly and works together. So we'll go ahead and exit out of here. We'll browse website. And we see that contact that we created when we built that form for. Now, John Doe, we have our first name, last name, email, phone number. We can even, oh, I forgot to add a search field, but that is also a neat, go ahead and do that actually. Enable search. Let's see if it works by just browsing the website. Yep. So if I want to create a new employee right here in this list, I can also do that. Use the same people every time. When is she born? Postal code. and submit it. And she's added right to the top of that list. And if we want to search it, say we have, you know, hundreds of employees, we can search it and populate that. And this is all out of the box. There is no code needed. This search bar, very handy in your organizations. And you can navigate to each of these right up here. So if we want to go back to the form, we can go there. If we want to go to new employees. This has all been appended to the navigation. Say we do want to edit the navigation because we actually don't want this about us or the services that is added out of the box for us. We go to the sign in and you sign in with your Azure AD. So this will sign me in with the username and password that I've already created for this tenant. This is just admin. And you'll get this preview on children, edit, delete, and new. This is something that you can use to modify your portal more in depth. So say you don't want this about us. You can go ahead and edit and delete it right through this interface right here. Don't want that, don't want that. Maybe you want to change this name here. Maybe you want to give it a different background, give it a description. Maybe it's a different URL. Maybe it has nothing to do with your portal. Image URL, you can modify anything here, as well as maybe you want to modify the body of the page. So you can edit here. And as you can see here, you have a plethora of options for you to be able to edit anything on here. You can change it to the left side, make it a list, bold it, even add an image, a table, anything that you might find. This is very similar to Word, Excel, anything Microsoft really. You have the option of making your portal however you want to make it, right within this interface, no code needed. But as I mentioned before, you can also edit the code inside of that portal management app. So go ahead and save it. Everything saves here. We have our new navigation here. And yeah, I mean, the options are limitless. If you do want to go ahead and clear the cache, as I mentioned before, you'll go to this URL like this, and you'll have the option of clearing the cache right through the browser here. You can clear the config and do it that way. Just wanted to show you one other thing. If you go to the same portal, instead of edit, you click on settings, and then you click on administration. You'll have a bunch of other configuration options right here. So you'll be able to restart your portal right through here. This is where you can update your URL inside of portal actions. This is where you can restart it if you decide that you don't want to go do it right in the browser. If for some reason it's not working, you can restart it here. You can update the URL, get a public key, reset the portal, change the base URL. If your organization has a specific base URL, you can do it there. But yeah, that is basically what you need to know to create your very first portal. Just let me bring up these slides. All right. So if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me via LinkedIn, Twitter, or you can also view my Power Apps portal blog that I wrote. Use this black QR code for the portal blog and the blue QR code to connect with me on LinkedIn. Nick, back to you.
Awesome. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yes, excellent. Okay, that was fantastic. Thank you so much for doing that. I know we've got a couple of questions in here that I can get answered here quickly. I was starting to type out answers and it kind of takes a lot longer to type than it does to explain. So there's a question here about Azure B2C authentication will get stored in the contact entity. The way that any external identity provider, which Azure AD B2C is one of those, there's an external identity entity that's created. So if you ever go into an advanced find and you look for external identities, it's a record related to a contact. In the case of the external identities, all it's really storing is the URL of the authority, so an identifier for which identity that record is for, and some sort of unique identifier for that user. So you wouldn't typically see, if someone's using like the local authentication for Azure AD B2C, you won't know what their username is. That's not stored in CDS. What's stored in CDS is a kind of unique identifier GUID that is kind of passed back from Azure AD B2C every time you log in. So something is stored in CDS. It's in the external identities table, which is related to contacts, but it's not necessarily their username. It's just a unique identifier that we get that is not what they're signing in with, and certainly never their password for any of those external identities. Their password never touches CDS. Okay, what I wanted to do here is my screen being shared still?
Let me stop sharing.
No, I'll make you the presenter.
Okay, I could probably do that here. Yeah, okay. All right, if I do that, you should be able to use my screen. So in terms of our next call, so I had originally, I was going to get Jason to schedule it for American Thanksgiving, and he advised me that that was maybe not a good idea. So thanks to Jason for pointing that out. So rather than it being, I think what would have been November 26th, what we're going to do is we're actually going to push it off a week. So there technically won't be a November call, but what we'll do is one at the very beginning of December, because the plan was always I think we were going to skip December either way. So what we'll do is kind of put one in the middle. I know things get, for me and the rest of the world, things can kind of get crazy in December. So what we're going to do is we're going to do one December 3rd, and then kind of split the middle there, and then the next one will be in January. So that's the plan for the next one. Again, thanks to Jason and the team at MX Dynamics World for helping us out with this. Yeah, we'll just get to some of these other questions here that we have in the chat. So the question here from Rowan is it possible to migrate a portal between environments, sandbox to production? So possible, yes, but there's no kind of quick button to do that. The method that Microsoft wants you to use is to use the configuration migration utility. I think we have a topic, if you go into YouTube and see kind of some of the older Portals community calls, because these are all recorded and posted to YouTube. We do have look for the one on ALM, and that kind of talks about the different options for moving data across. But it is possible, but you're using either a tool from the XRM toolbox or using the configuration migration utility to move the data between environments. It's not like a one click and Microsoft kind of moves all the data for you. All right, I think that's it. I got some great feedback for Andrea, and yeah, she did a great job. It's nice to have those sessions where we're just kind of showing kind of a real world example, and you're not hyper focused on any one specific topic, just kind of like, hey, how, the fact that you can do one of these portals in the half an hour or the 20 minutes to set them up is great to see how that can be done. So it was a really great session. Anything else in here? I see for the Azure B2C accounts. Yeah, so I hope, Manjut, there that I've answered your question regarding Azure AD B2C. If not, please post another question there. Happy to get that answered. If you're interested in kind of the authentication side of things, we did one community call on authentication, and then I was able to dive a little bit deeper into it in my session last week at the Fall Into Portals conference. So definitely go check out the recording of that on the 365.training website. Okay, I'm not seeing any more questions. So I think, unless someone wants to add one quickly here, I think we'll probably wrap up, let everyone kind of jump to whatever their next commitment is, and hopefully we'll see you December 3rd. If you have any specific topics that you'd like to see covered at that time, definitely let me know. I'm always kind of, I've never decided kind of in advance the topic this early, so whatever, there's always an opportunity to kind of give me some feedback, and if I don't do it next month, then I certainly like to cover all the topics that people have suggested. So if you do have a topic you'd like to see kind of a deep dive into, reach out to me on Twitter or LinkedIn or that sort of thing, and I'm always looking for ideas for next month. So all right, I think that's it. Jason, if you want to wrap things up.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you, Andrea, for joining us. Great to have you, and Nick, as always, for running things here. Look for an email soon from us with the recording details and a link to the details on next month's, or I guess December's event. So with that, we will conclude. Have a great day, everyone.